row, we have hollyhocks. I just see the one bloom there. Maybe we'll go down a little further.
The garden hike is a mobile interview in a community garden.
I call it a coxcomb.
Young people learn about gardens from knowledgeable elder gardeners and from their own observations.
You take it and you slice it up.
They collect information about the history of the garden, what plants are growing, what structures are present, and what activities take place there. They learn to ask questions about things that interest them.
Where do you get your water supply?
Young people can enter the data collected during the garden hike into the Community Garden Inventory online. This inventory is being developed in cooperation with members of the American Community Gardening Association. It will provide baseline information on the locations, uses, and benefits of community gardens worldwide.
Carrots and onions and all kinds of things.
Garden Mosaics participants are just one of many groups that can submit data to the Community Garden Inventory. Anyone can contribute.
Eat the plants you grow.
The information the youth collect will also help them learn more about the gardener's interests and concerns. This information will help the youth plan their action project.
They're really thrilled to have young people who are sincere about learning, and they just love it.
Step 1 is to contact the garden manager or other knowledgeable gardener to arrange a visit to their garden.
Well, I just came to schedule a time so that they could come out here.
Be sure to get their permission to interview them and photograph their garden. It might end up on the Garden Mosaics website. Prepare the youth for the hike by having them read and discuss the History of Community Garden Science page and become familiar with the Community Garden Inventory form. They will fill out and submit the inventory form after the hike.
For the next part, we're going to practice our interviews.
One of the most important parts of the garden hike is the interview process. It helps to have the youth practice their interviewing skills. They can take turns being the questioners and note takers.
It's important to prepare the children to understand how to ask questions, what kind of questions you might want to ask of a gardener, and then feel comfortable speaking up and talking to them. It's a life skill that you're really practicing in a relaxed garden setting. And you get interesting information out of it.
So I'd like you to brainstorm questions or...
Guide the group through a brainstorming session to develop a checklist of questions to ask the gardeners. The questions should cover the items on the Community Garden Inventory form, as well as any other topics the youth are curious about. Now it's time to get outside and meet the garden guide.
We're going to take the kids out. Some of them going to go with you, some going to go with Neil, and some will be with me.
Have the youth begin at one end of the garden and walk through, questioning the gardener as they go.
How do you control the weed problem in this garden?
Oh, we have this covering over the ground. It's called mulch.
Young people ask questions from their list, as well as questions they come up with on the spot about what they are observing.
Weeds are very,
Take advantage of teachable moments to explain scientific concepts.
So one flower gives you thousands of seeds.
Every corner you turn, you can find an educational moment where you can say, oh, you know, look at this plant that a certain person is growing, and talk about that plant.
What are some things that surprised you about the actual interview that you learned from that person?
After the hike, ask some follow-up questions to help the youth talk about what they saw and help them complete the Community Garden Inventory form. The data can also be emailed or printed out and mailed to the address on the form. The garden hike is an appealing and rewarding activity for youth and elders alike. And the data collected will help us understand the benefits of community gardens everywhere.